Good morning, Year 9. Welcome to another history class. And today we're going to carry on where we finished in the previous session. So we were looking at the outbreak of World War II, and really we were looking at that Nazi domination, how they just stormed through Europe. And today the key question we're going to look is, how did Britain survive the Nazi onslaught in 1940? So for your starter, what I would like you to do, take a look at these two questions. What was Blitzkrieg? How successful were the Nazis in their initial battles of World War II? So I would like you to take a moment, pause the video, and please answer this question. Okay, perfect. So if you've got your answers down, Blitzkrieg, of course, that was the tactics used by the Nazis, whereby they would have the Air Force, they would have normal soldiers, and they would have tanks, and they would work together to really destroy the other armies. And how successful were they? Well, very successful. They dominated Poland, Holland, Belgium, Norway, Denmark, and France in a very short time. So let's move on with our topic for today. Nazi victories. So as a quick review, we know Germany, they scored a string of early victories due to that Blitzkrieg tactic that the other countries were not prepared for. And this was a shock because remember, World War I, 4 years, and there was no real movement in terms of countries dominating the other. But here we have a very quick German success. And they fell quickly, as I said, they had no defense for Blitzkrieg. France, who had stood against Germany for 4 years in World War I, which was only 21 years before this, so it wasn't a long time ago. And this time they lasted just 6 weeks. So France, who at the time were considered to probably have the strongest army in Europe, and they lasted 6 weeks against Germany. And what this meant, Britain had sent nearly all of its troops, all of its equipment. So here we're talking tanks, cars, motorcycles, horses. They had been sent to France to help with the fight. And now if we look at this map, we can see the British, there's around 500,000 altogether, British and French troops. They are trapped in this town of Dunkirk, okay? They have the Nazis coming at them from all sides, and they're backed onto the ocean, and they have no boats. So they are trapped between Nazis and the sea. So the question is, how did the British survive? How did the British Army survive this situation? And here we can see some images. So this is an actual image of the beaches of Dunkirk. Here we see the British soldiers lining up, waiting for rescue. As they would be lining up, there would be Nazi planes flying in the air, dropping bombs on them. So they were waiting and they were under constant attack with no defense, no shelter. Here is a colored reenactment from a recent movie, but again, it gives you a visual of what it would have looked like for these men who were really just felt like they were waiting to be slaughtered. Here's a painting from the time. Again, here you can see the bombs dropping in the background. And here are some propaganda leaflets the Germans dropped to the soldiers, letting them know that they surround them, telling them, surrender and you'll survive. If Britain had have surrendered at this time, they would have, Germany would have dominated the whole of Europe and Britain wouldn't have had an army left. So let's take a look. Your task for today. You're going to look at the question, Dunkirk, victory or disaster? The British, they escaped the Nazis through Operation Dynamo, which was a huge rescue operation involving Navy warships, as well as ordinary citizens, small boats, fishing boats, yachts, even rowing boats. So we're seeing Britain really taking any boat they could find to try and rescue the soldiers. And we see between 26th of May and 4th of June, they rescued altogether around 350,000 troops, so mainly British, but also a lot of French soldiers. Your task today, you're going to look at the events that took place and decide, should they be seen as a victory or a disaster? So, the evacuation, the rescue of these troops, was it a victory for Britain or a disaster for Britain? And you're going to investigate this using the documents I've attached. So I've attached copies of Unit 5.2 from your book, and you're going to use the sources on those documents to answer questions page 91 and 93 about whether it was a disaster or a victory. And then on Zoom on Thursday, we can discuss this together, and I'll take some of your opinions, and then we'll see if we can decide together whether it's a victory or a disaster. So go to the documents, please read through, and then answer the questions, and we'll discuss this on Zoom. Thank you, and I look forward to seeing your responses.